Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today I am going to teach you about price effect, impact of price effect. In the previous lecture, I have taught you about the price effect. Price effect means when there is a change in the price of a commodity, other things remaining the same, then demand of that commodity will be changed. All of this process is called the price effect. Price effect is further divided into two effects, or we can say that price effect decomposes in two effects: income effect and the substitution effect. Under the phenomena of price effect, when there is change in price of a commodity, then consumers' real income has been changed. When consumer real income has been changed, then consumers' consumption basket, consumer preferences about the consumption boxes will be changed. All of this effect is called the income effect. Substitution effect comes when there is a change in prices and there is the change in relative prices. Means when price of a commodity change, then consumer substitutes the cheaper commodities relative to the coster commodities, and all of this effect is called substitution effect. When we discuss about all of three effects, then we have to see about the types of commodities. Normally there are three types of commodities: normal commodity, inferior commodities, and given commodity. So there we are going to decompose the price effect into income effect and substitution effect under two approaches: Celestia approach and Hicksian approach. There I am going to discuss about the Hicksian approach. When under the Hicksian approach, we are taking the normal commodities or normal good. Under the normal good, price effect is negative, substitution effect is negative, and income effect is positive. Negative in price effect means change in price. If there is a increase in price, then there is a decrease in demand, and if there is a decrease in price, then there is a increase in demand. So substitution effect means consumer substitutes one commodity to the other, and his substitutions take place toward expensive commodity toward the cheaper commodity. And income effect means when consumers real income increase, then consumer going to increase his consumption. So we have two normal commodities, Y and X are normal commodities, and I am going to draw a diagram under the Hicksian approach. There is substitution effect, income effect, and price effects have been shown in this diagram. This I am going to draw the diagram in that way. Both X and Y are the normal commodities. Consumer have a budget according to this budget line. This is the budget line of consumer, and this is BL. And here we taking the X as a normal good, and there is a change in the price of X. Change in the price of X, and price of X going to decrease. When price of X going to decrease, it's mean consumers' real income have been increased, and consumers' budget line goes upward like that. And this is the BN is the consumer's new budget line. Due to decrease in the price of X, consumer's budget line shift from BL to BN. When consumer, now I'm going to draw the optimum point of consumers. On the budget line BL, consumers equilibrium point is on the indifference curve C, and this is the consumer equilibrium point. And when price of X decrease, then budget line shift toward upward, and now consumer goes on the second indifference curve. This is the second indifference curve, and this is the optimum point of consumer. This is the optimum point of consumer. From the previous indifference curve, consumer going to consume the commodities of X1, and when price of commodity of X decrease, then consumers real income will increase. Due to this increase in real income, income effect is positive in the case of normal goods. So consumer like to consume more of X commodities, and he shifts from Q to P. From Q to P, and this is the new consumption point, and this is the new optimum point. All of this shifting is called the price effect. This is the from shifting of consumer or movement of consumer from point Q to point P is called price effect. Now I am going to divide this price effect into income effect and substitution effect. For capturing all these two effects, one of imaginary budget line will be drawn there, and this budget lines is drawing equal to this new budget line parallel toward the this new budget line will be drawn parallel to this budget line like that. This new budget line touches the previous indifference curve. This is the new imaginary budget lines A, B. A, B is the new budget lines, and this new imaginary budget line touches the point R on the previous indifference curve. When consumer price of commodity decrease, consumer shifts from Q to P. Now we want to capture the income effect. There, consumers' real income increase due to decrease in price, but due to the effect of taxation, consumers' real income will decrease. And this due to this decrease in consumers' real income, consumers shift from this budget line to this imaginary budget line, and this imaginary budget line touches the previous indifference curve on the point P. This is the consumers income effect, and this decrease in income of consumer due to the application of the taxation. So this movement from P to R is called the consumer income effect, and this movement from point Q to R is called the consumer substitution effect. And this all diagram shows the Hicksian approach, Hicksian compensation approach, and from this diagram we can derive the Hicksian demand curve. Hicksian demand curve. We can draw the Hicksian demand curve below this. This is the X and this is the price. Hicksian compensation demand curve can be drawn from this diagram. We can draw these points, and this is P1 and this is X1. And the second point we can taking from this point, and this is the second price, and the point E and point F showing the Hicksian compensation Hicksian demand curve. This is the Hicksian demand curve. From there we can derive the Marshall demand curve. Marshall demand curve derives from the points Q and P. When we take this point below of this diagram, then we can find out this point P1. P1 point is same for Hicksian demand curve and for Marshallian demand curve. Marshallian demand curve. Marshallian demand curve. But the point Q and point P are come there for the Hicksian demand curve. We take down this and this. This X2 showing the commodity or increase in commodities under the Marshallian demand curve, and this demand curve I join these points. By join these points we draw the Marshallian demand curve, and these points is EF and these points are EG. By joining point EF we find out the Hicksian demand curve, and by joining the point EG we derive the Marshallian demand curve. And Hicksian demand curve also called the compensating demand curve, because the points which have been choose to derive the Hicksian demand curves are present on the same indifference curve Q and R. From these 2 points we can derive the Hicksian demand curve, and the points which we have choose to derive the Marshallian demand curve are present on 2 different indifference curve Q and point P are used to derive the Marshallian demand curve. Hicksian demand curve is less elastic as compared to Marshallian demand curve. This diagram is constructed under the normal commodities, and this diagram shows the change in price as the price of X is going to decrease. And in my next diagram I am going to show when price of X going to increase. When price of X going to increase, then substitution and income effect comes to the on the same diagrams like that. Initially budget line of consumer is this. When there is no change in price, this is the consumer's initial budget line. When there comes the change in price and the price of X goes to increase. When price of X goes to increase, then consumer's budget line shifts inward like that. It means initially consumer's optimum point is present on this indifference curve, and this is the consumer initial optimum point. And when consumers have to see the change in price, then consumers real income going to decrease due to increase in price. Then consumers budget line shifts inward, and now consumer is on the new indifference curve. This is the consumer's new indifference curve, and this is the new optimum point of consumer. And this shifting in consumer, this is the from x3 to x1 is called the price effect. And this all the now I am going to show that we can decompose this price effect into substitution effect and into income effect. To capture the to capture the change in income, or to find out the income effect, we are going to draw a imaginary budget line. This imaginary budget line just draw parallel to this budget line, but inside the this budget line, like in consumer, touch to this indifference curve, this imaginary budget line touch there. Now consumer, due to decrease in real income of consumer shift from A to point E. This is the income effect from x3 to x2. From x3 to x2, this is the income effect. And from point A to B, from point A to B, this is the substitution effect. So when price of x going to increase, then Hicksian approach capture the income effect and substitution effect like that which I have drawn in the diagram. In my next lecture, I'm going to teach you about the salad sky.